If you've been looking at your investment opportunities recently, you may be puzzled. CDs, certificates of deposit, are paying 1, 2, or 3%. That's preposterous. It's not even the inflationary rate. The real estate market is in total disarray, and you may have lost half of your real estate equity by now. The stock market goes up and down like a yo-yo. So where is an investor to put some money? You may not be familiar with a concept called private equity. Private equity is investing in growing companies who are already earning between $500,000 and $50 million in profit and not yet public. And private equity historically is a deep secret invested in by pension funds, insurance companies, and sovereign governments. Private equity produces yields of 20 to 25%, certainly with a higher level of risk than a CD. But there are many, many history, stories, and opinions about private equity. But the bottom line, the people out there in private equity are consistently earning 20% on their money. So what's the secret? If you are an investor in private equity, first of all, the banks lend money to the company on top of your equity investment. So if the private equity group invests $3 million, the banks will lend another $3 million. And then the owners of the company tend to lend some more money, maybe $1, $2, or $3 million, and that is called a leveraged buyout. With that kind of leverage and paying modest rates to the bank and modest rates to the owner, rates of return of 20% are probable, not just possible. Now, this company that has a private equity investment goes out and makes a couple of acquisitions, and at the end of 3 to 6 years, they have a liquidity event, and you have a payday. How did they achieve that liquidity event? Well, they could go public. That is one thing. They could sell to another private equity fund, who's a bigger fund, or they could have what's called a recapitalization. And that's where they paid off all the bank debt, and they declare a dividend and pass a huge dividend through to you. Now, if you want to invest in private equity as an individual, you need to be able to tolerate some risk. You need to invest not less than $500,000. Investments run $500,000 to $10 million. And you have to be prepared to have that money sit there for a while. And if you can afford it, you want to diversify your portfolio. Invest in 3 or 4 or 5 private equity opportunities. Well, I'm going to ask you to think about this. Where do you put your money today? Now, certainly, you should have some money in a money market, some money in CDs, some money in conservative stocks and bonds. But there's nowhere that I know where you can get a predictable result of 20% other than private equity. If you're serious about getting a high yield on your investments, we'll introduce you to some growing, already highly profitable companies. I want to emphasize, private equity is not venture capital. Private equity does not invest in unprofitable companies. These are seasoned, profitable, successful, growing companies where you can be an owner in. There are so many success stories out there. 4 years ago, a company named Weinberg Bell, dear friends of mine, made a private equity investment in Cargo Enterprises. And in 4 years, that value has quintupled. 3 years ago, the very same firm invested in a company called Prax in North Dakota. They paid $68 million for that company in private equity. Today, Prax is worth $500 million. Now, not every private equity investment is successful. But if you're cautious in investing in the right company, if you have the right advice and direction, and if you can tolerate that risk, here's a way to balance your portfolio off. Now, as we, as an investment banker, sell companies, our clients come up with that private equity. We recently, matter of fact, on Monday of this week, sold a company for $16 million. Our client's excited about private equity. He's not taking his last penny, but he's going to put a few $1,000,000 into private equity. You too can experience 20% plus kinds of yields if you can accept the risk and if you're a sophisticated investor. So if you, like we are tired about hearing about real estate foreclosures, the yo-yo effect of the stock market, bankers who want to be very generous and give you 2.5% on your money, and if you're a successful individual or company, then you are a candidate for private equity. If you'd like to discuss private equity without commitment or cost on your part, we'd like to hear from you. We are the Private Equity Hedge Fund. Our phone number is 954-586-1000, 954-586-1000. We'd like to introduce you to a vehicle that can change a portion of your investment philosophy. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.